How's it going, guys? This is John with LabOps Gear, and today I'm going to do a quick breakdown on the current setup of our family's adventure 4Runner. We just got back from a trip to California and through Nevada and Utah and Colorado, and so it is completely disgusting, but I figured what a better time to give an after-action report as to the way it's set up now, what I like about our setup, and what I'd change. So let's just dive into it. Okay, so let's start off with the rear cargo area. I built this dividing system to have some semblance of organization, and I think it actually ends up working pretty well. So obviously, front and center, you can see we travel with a dog, and so we have this giant kennel. We prefer him to ride in a kennel. It keeps him safer. It also keeps him out of trouble in the car. This is a Roughland roto-molded kennel. We like it. It has two double hinged doors, so no matter, even if the 4Runner is parked at one angle or another, we can still open it up and he can get out easily. He also can't really bite through it, and it's just the right size to keep him contained, but still comfortable. Beside the kennel, there is a small table that's just kind of jammed in here. This is the table that the kids sit at, and it just so happens to really nicely between this 2x4 and the kennel. This kennel is basically as big as you can fit inside of this cargo area. You can see that this corner looks like it sticks out a little bit, but it actually just clears and does not touch the window. This is the Roughland intermediate sized kennel. Next to the kennel, I have my custom wood slide that I have basically all the quick access items that I would want. So you can see from the front, I've got a flashlight that's jammed in there for looking at things at night. Fire extinguisher, obviously very important, easily accessible, just pulls right out. You don't want to have to struggle with that. You can see right up close, at the very end, is our powering system. We use a Goal Zero lithium Yeti 1000. We really like this system because we can actually move it from vehicle to vehicle or use it in the house if there's a power outage, and it's just worked really well for us. Not to mention the fact that the 1000 has enough battery life to power our refrigerator for 4 or 5 days, even in the summer, without needing to be recharged, which we like that buffer. More on the details of the Goal Zero later. On top of the Goal Zero and attached to the handle of the refrigerator is my quick action first aid kit, gloves. I'll do more of a breakdown of my first aid kits at a different time. But I made this. This is obviously very low tech. I've got two 2x4s attached to this platform. One of them's a locking one, and so the whole thing can slide out. Also inside here, next to the refrigerator, I have our Camp Chef Everest stove. This is an extra piece of Reflectix that actually fits in the passenger side window. And of course, now we have the fridge. And with the window open in this situation, the refrigerator actually opens all the way up. So with this system, the slide is just big enough to fit our Indel B 44B refrigerator and Goal Zero next to each other without actually hitting the seat back. Now, full disclosure, the rear handle is still on this refrigerator, but the headrest on the back of the seat has been removed because my daughter sits in a high back booster, so we don't need that. So this handle actually kind of goes over the top of the seat. So if you actually had people sitting back there, this kind of system might not work all the way. Directly below the refrigerator is just an open cubby. We have a couple of tubs that we have, our intermittently used supplies. So this is, you can see we have dog bone, dog water bottle, hot hands, some games, a speaker, lotion, sunscreen, just kind of a smattering of extra bits that don't quite fit other places. And then behind that, we found this perfect size plastic tote that fits underneath this organizer that we have all of our extra boots and shoes. So this platform is made with 3/4 inch, just cheap plywood. some 2x4s, some 3/4 inch dimensional lumber. I think these were 1x8, or sorry, 1x dimensional lumber. I think this is like a 1x8. These are 1x12s. So you actually get about 11 and some inches underneath here when all's said and done. And these are just sitting directly on the carpet of the 4Runner. This entire unit is actually just held down by a ratchet strap in the back because there's enough structure in the front that it really won't move. Even when the drawer's all the way out, there's minimal movement in this whole system. So this platform system is something that I made for our last trip, but right before our current trip, I added a couple extra little features. I got this idea from a couple forums and a YouTube video. If I can remember it, I'll link it. But basically what this is just a 1/2 inch piece of plywood that is attached with aluminum L brackets underneath. And it's got a handle in it, and it just is a slide-out table. It's really nice. The Camp Chef fits really well on here. Not to mention the fact that it can be slid in or out. It's about to here is about as far as you want to go because it's just in there on slides. But you can make coffee, make sandwiches, whatever you need, and it's a quick access. It's a flat surface in the backcountry, which is pretty great. Directly underneath, on 2 other L brackets, is our main table, which folds in half. This was a game changer this last camping trip because we were able to access the table first and put it away last, allowing all the other organization to happen without losing our flat surface. So even with everything else loaded in the vehicle, the table can fit. Just got to get it lined up just right. And it slides right in. Then underneath all of that is this rolling underbed tub, which just so happens to fit the length of the 4Runner cargo area perfectly. There's a little bit of play in this, which allows the door to close, but no issues with the latch at all. And this can pull out almost all the way to access the back of it with everything else in. In here we have all of our food and then the other quick access items that we need, like our paper towels, washing tub, soap, coffee cups, garbage bags, hand sanitizer, other snacks, some beer, basically everything you might need to access when you're on the trail. The other really nice part about this is that it does come all the way out. So with this setup, this is a 24-inch wide table, and with that tub inside here, there's just enough room for some 50 caliber ammo cans. In front and center, of course, most important is the coffee making can, which I take on every adventure. It's a self-contained coffee kit, but I'll talk about that in a different video. And then behind that, there are 2 other ones. The other nice thing about these ammo cans, well, one, the height of them is perfect for the table to fit on top of, and they also have these, obviously because they're ammo cans, they have these pull handles in the front, making them easy to access even when they're all the way in the back. In these 2 I have my air compressor. Ooh, nice and sealed. And bungee cords and tie-down straps, ratchet straps, basically. Extra cargo management. Above the refrigerator and the kennel, I have hanging between the cargo hold-down straps and the front handle grips 2 rear cargo bungees. Actually, this is from Arkea. Then this one's from a Jeep Grand Cherokee. The front one is stretched out between 4 points and was used as a catch-all for blankets, coats, hats, stuffed animals, things that we needed quick access to that were soft and wouldn't be any hazard in any sort of accident on the road, but still up and out of the way in this unused space above all the rest of the cargo. This back one is kind of a pocket pouch system, and basically it was what I had, but it actually worked out really well. We were able to put things like our lanterns, maybe on a windy day be able to just throw the paper towels up in here, basically anything that we needed to keep up and out of the way. But because they're bungeed and up to the ceiling, you can open up the refrigerator and they hang there. But when you put the refrigerator back, they're just kind of tucked up and out of the way. Surprisingly functional system. So given my rudimentary cabinetry making skills, everything here is square, which means there's some space between the side of the fridge and the side of the 4Runner. Basically where the side cubby and the little cutouts, which are almost like cup holders, that would be for the rear cargo area, would be. In this area, actually what fits really nicely were our camp chairs. So I already took out the two chairs of the girls, but they're basically the same size. So we have two folding camp chairs that fit right in the back, and the girls are actually a little bit longer, and they actually fit down in the this more rearward section where there's a little bit more room up and down. Behind here, there is the cubby that is built into the 4Runner on the passenger side. And in there, I have a box of nitrile gloves, because I always have gloves, as well as an extra roll of paper towels, and extra plug-ins for the Goal Zero in the refrigerator if we want to charge them outside of the vehicle. This vertical little cubby over here was actually a nice little hiding spot for a bottle of trail scotch too. On the passenger side, lower compartment, basically underneath the platform and beside the upright, we have some what we call adventure boxes. They're basically dry boxes that our girls put treasures that they find in, kind of their little. It's a way to keep all the stuff that they get from grunging up everything else in the vehicle. And down here is the hitch pin. But maybe most importantly, underneath here is the 12-volt socket for the 4Runner. And new to this trip, we actually installed the Goal Zero lithium 12-volt charging cable kit. So this actually allows the lithium battery to run on the voltage of the lead acid and alternator power from the vehicle without hurting the battery. So the plug-in attaches obviously into the 12-volt socket, and the control box is attached to the bottom of the platform using a 3M command strip, just to keep it up and out of the way and also protect it from getting wet if anything gross gets put down in this area. This allowed our Goal Zero to run at essentially 100% battery the entire time, because every time we drove, it just topped it off from the little bit of power the fridge was using. So behind the kennel, there's also that same amount of room. So if I pull out the table, and the kennel, we put our extra propane tanks and our Mr. Buddy heater back here, and this actually worked really, really well also. I was actually able to use this space to store an extra pair of boots or two, and this kind of gives you a picture of how simple this whole system really is. It is just a platform with some 2x4s and some drawer slides. Underneath on this side, there is less room than over there, but we had some permethrin just in case it was buggy. It ended up not being buggy at all. Bear spray, because bears fairly quick access, and the sprayer, some tape, fuel siphon. Like I said, our propane tanks sat really nicely right here, and right here is our picnic blanket for if we're eating in the grass. The nice thing about this system is it still gives you access to the factory jack and other recovery stuff that's in that little panel in there. And that's basically it for the rear cargo area. The system works really well, but it is heavy. I'll roll in some footage, but I'm basically a millimeter or two off of riding off my bump stops, as it is now. So a suspension upgrade is definitely in the future. So due to the amount of cargo that we have to carry and how much room the kids and the dog take up, I had to utilize this 40 section of the rear seat to accommodate even more storage. This area is used for quick access, such as our little soft-sided cooler for our snacks and other things that we need while we're driving. Underneath that, well, some more quick access drawing stuff for the girls. Underneath the cooler is our kitchen utensil box. So this is the same size box as in the back. They're nice and sturdy, and we're able to get all of our kitchen utensils in here. So in front of the seat back, which is laid down, and in order to get a little bit more room, I actually took out the seat bottom, which allows this entire footwell area to also be used as storage. Normally our bathroom bag is sitting right here, but what we have, and on top of that would be our standard medical bag, so our Band-Aids, ibuprofen, that kind of stuff is all in this bag. So that's easily accessible. Next to that is the jumper and recovery tool bag. So this is a just a bomber, it's actually a jumper cable bag from Duluth Trading Company. It's got a glove pouch in the front. I'll go a little bit more in detail into this at a different video, but this is a great solution for all of that kind of dirty recovery and jumper cable stuff, and it's able to keep it close at hand. And underneath all of that is our DeWalt hand tool ratchet set. It actually fits perfectly in the footwell, and that allows it to be out of the way because it's kind of heavy and bulky, but it's also just acts like a second floor for all that other stuff to be stored on top of. Underneath the seat back, it turns out there's a really nice cubby that fits a marine fire extinguisher perfectly, and I like having that close by, being able to reach and grab it without having to dig. So that's great, and it's also kind of unusable space in a lot of other ways. In the door cubby, I have some quick access tools. I've got tire pressure gauge, hammer for pounding in tent stakes, some fire making kit, and some extra tent stakes for guying out tarps and things like that. All things that I don't want to have to dig for, but are nice and out of the way. On the back side, and basically touching the front of the rear organizer shelf, is our water storage system. And this was the first trip we used these. I just got them. These are the LCI military water cans. So they're a heavy-duty plastic, and they're made for storing water. And they've got some really heavy-duty lids. The seals, not quite the best. I'll break these out and probably into a separate review and kind of what I've done to make them so they don't leak. They do hold water well, and the nice thing is they are, when they're upright, they pretty much don't leak at all. And I have them set up to not leak with some seals, and they do work really well just to store water out of the way. And they're also very stable, so we can set stuff on top of them and not really worry about crushing or having some leaks in that way. And I have two of them. We actually only ended up using one whole one because we were able to top off. But we have the ability to store 10 gallons in here like this, and it's pretty far rearward and close to the rear axle, so I figured that's a good place for that weight. Behind the water cans, but in front of the kennel, there's a small amount of space between the seat back and the kennel, and actually this Hitchmate tire step fits perfectly in there, and I'll show you why I actually bring this kind of bulky and clattery thing with us. So I got this Hitchmate tire step as a gift a couple years ago, and I've honestly really never used it because I was always able to either climb up on the tire, and now that we have these nice sliders, I have a nice side step. But what I figured out is that, once again, horizontal space is premium in the backcountry. What this does is this is actually a really stable and very strong system, and what I use it for is to be able to actually hold these heavy jerry cans of water, so I can have the jerry can out of the vehicle when we're getting all of the other utensils and everything out, and not have to dig through it. And also, it can be laid on its side and actually access the water. This puts the water up off the ground, so it's not going to get dirty, and it's also out of the way. It's off to the side, it's out of the way from the door where the utensils are, but it's still up, and there's still some water drop to be able to fill bottles or just store it upright and get it out of the way. Another new addition for this last trip was the incorporation of some traction mats. These are some cheap traction mats that I got on Amazon, and I actually got a couple pair, and I'll be doing a full review of all of them in a little bit. Thankfully, we didn't actually need them, but I had them and I wanted to bring them with me. They are long, and if they got dirty, I didn't want to have them inside. So I built this very rudimentary, but also very functional roof rack mounting system. Now what this is a 1x2 14 gauge steel with a bunch of holes in it. I forget what it's actually called, but we got it at the local home store, and it's just bolted together. So there are two 4-foot sections, one on this side and one on the back, with the 2-inch up and the 1-inch on the bottom, and then there's some sections of just the same material but just flat stock going across. And then it's just bolted in all 4 corners using nylon lock nuts on the back. And I just spray painted the entire thing in some truck bed liner spray that didn't need any primer, and it seems to be a nice resilient coating, basically just so it didn't rust. And honestly, it looks a little bit better than just having the raw metal up there. That's attached to these roof crossbars. Again, these are just a cheap pair of crossbars that we had from a previous vehicle, but I don't have the factory crossbars on the 4Runner, and they actually kind of work nice because they do stick out a little bit further, which is able to get the traction mat holder away from the skybox, so the skybox can still open without having that steric clash with the side of the traction mats. The way that I attach them to the mats to the actual rack holder is just using some D-style hitch pins. So there's holes in the front and the back, and I just made it so those holes lined up with the holes in the cross pieces of metal. And so there's one on the front and one on the back. Sorry, one on the front and one on the back. And then there's just a rubber bungee holding it down. And this, I didn't hear any movement, any rattling, any noise at all. Just for a little added security, I did take a bike cable and a padlock, and padlocked the entire system to the crossbar to keep, just to keep any honest people from taking them off. But like I said, I didn't actually have to use them. But this is a fairly quick access to them, and it also keeps them up and out of the way, and it didn't cost very much to make. It took me an afternoon. So all in all, this system worked very well on this trip. As I said before, it is heavy. It was cheap to make, and I was able to do it with the limited tools that I have access to. The biggest issue for us right now is we're actually still running out of room with this 4Runner. Even though we have all this organization, our refrigerator is kind of small for 4 people for more than a couple days. The dog takes up a bunch of room. And, you know, normally actually this space right here is reserved for his bag with enough food to last him for however long we're out. If it's a week or 2, that gets pretty big. Using the skybox as that extra storage for all of our soft gear, like our big 6-person tent, all of our camping pads and sleeping bags and clothing, that worked pretty well too. Because basically when we opened it up, everything kind of came out into the tent. We're kind of going back to basics now with our family, and it does work really well. So that's how our setup's working right now. Like I said, all in all, I'm very happy with it. Besides the weight, which you can see the 4Runner is pretty low, like my head is able to almost touch the roof of this thing when I'm standing here. We have to upgrade the suspension because of how much weight we're putting in the back of this thing. And we don't even have any rear bumper or tire carrier or any of that kind of stuff on there, which actually would be kind of nice. I actually think that using some more outside space of the 4Runner could help maybe get rid of some of like the propane tanks and the stove. Maybe almost build a rear galley system to get some of the stuff that doesn't need to be in a conditioned space out of that space, and that might help free up some more space inside the back of here. And then maybe I'll have to reorganize again. So that's pretty much all I have. If you have any questions about the system, or where I got the parts, or what I used for each individual section, just let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you have any ideas of ways that I can improve the system, let me know in the comments as well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.